I'm creating this micro lecture to attempt to give a perspective on what mission statements are and what vision statements are, and how important they are in the formulation of strategy. The mission statement of your organization is a statement of the purpose of the organization in the present tense. A vision statement, on the other hand, is a statement of the desired future state of the organization. So if you kind of keep those things in mind, they make sense. They need to be relatable to the ultimate strategy that you have. So if we look at some good examples of vision statements, the Alzheimer's Association, for example, is a world without Alzheimer's disease. Teach for America is one day all children in this nation will have the opportunity to attain an excellent education. Microsoft, when it was founded, had a vision statement that said a computer on every desk and in every home. So, you know, those aren't real easy to do, right? But they give an idea of where you're trying to go. Something very similarly related to that is something called strategic intent. It was very popular management thought. It continues to be today, but it was created back in the I believe in the 70s, and it basically says it's defined as a compelling statement where an organization is going that succinctly is an important aspect of it, conveys a sense of what the organization wants to achieve in the long term. And here's the really important part of it: without regard for current abilities and limitations. That is a really powerful statement to make. So let's look at some examples of it. For example, Canon. You think about Canon cameras and things like that, but they also got into the photocopier business, which was owned by a company called Xerox. And Canon came in and they said, our strategic intent is to beat Xerox. Walmart's, for example, the big large retail chain, was originally to overtake Ben Franklin's stores, but then they did that fairly quickly and had a very strong formula for success, and so they went after the decades-long #1 retailer in the world, Sears, and they did it. Now, the Apollo space program, actually NASA, but we'll just say the Apollo space program, was to beat the Russians to the moon. But that was always the intent from the very beginning of the NASA space program, was to actually land somebody on the moon and bring them back home. So these are really large, lofty ambitions, maybe even kind of dreams, but nonetheless, they're very motivating to the people in the organization, and they're key to strategic success. It creates a cohesiveness of action, which is really important to do. So let's use the NASA example as an example. Think back when the space programs were just getting going. Russia was building a parallel space program to ours, and the Russians got a human being to orbit the Earth first. I'll bet that created, I wasn't there of course, but I bet that created real anxiety and a lot of competitive stress forming at NASA, saying it's like, we let them do that, we can't let that happen again. So you can see how energizing it can really be. So when we think about a mission statement, we think about a broad declaration of, again, the organization's purpose, and identifies specifically what the organization does. So I do seminars and programs for small business administration on occasion, and typically the topic I talk about is strategy, because believe it or not, a lot of smaller companies, not every small, really struggle to define what their mission statement is, to define what their strategy is. So it can be kind of difficult to do. They know it, they have one, obviously they're doing well at what they do, but it's hard for them to put it into terms. So I use this to kind of help define your business using the mission statement. Just answer these questions. What do we do? How do we do it? Who do we do it for? What value are we bringing? And where are we going? All those things are really important types of things to be able to answer. So here's some examples of mission statements. Express Scripts, one of those huge companies that you've never heard of before, is a company is basically they're in the pharmaceutical benefits administration. That's a huge business. I mean, it's a monstrous business, and they're one of the leaders in it. So their mission statement says, Express Scripts is a company dedicated to making the use of prescription drugs safer and more affordable for plan sponsors and over 50 million members and their families. So it says a lot. It says what they do. It says what they mean to their to their constituents, the sponsors and the members, is make drugs safer and more affordable. So it's a pretty well written mission statement. Here's one with CVS is a good example. We will be the easiest pharmacy retailer for customers to use. Now notice what they say in that is what's just as important as what they don't say. They didn't say we'll be the cheapest. They didn't say we will be most desirable to go to. I'm trying to think, most appealing. It's just they want to be the easiest pharmacy retailer. And so that translates, by saying that, it translates into some different things. For example, they're going to spend money to expand stores into multiple locations, right? As many locations as they can possibly open. And they're going to extend the store hours and the pharmacy hours, to make sure that they're always available. So, it says what they're doing, and as importantly as what they're not doing. Your company Micron, again, another company you don't know much about, but they're a huge producer of semiconductors, and theirs is to be the most efficient, innovative global provider of semiconductor solutions. So, a pretty good one. But let's look at this last one. A lot of times when I do this class, I'm able to hide who the actual company is, so I ask people to guess. And I imagine, and I can tell you, out of the hundreds of students I've had, maybe one or two have gotten this. So, at Microsoft, we work to help businesses throughout the world realize their full potential, and this is our mission. Makes everything we do reflects this mission and values that make it possible. Is not very descriptive, and if you didn't know who that was, you'd be really, really hard pressed to say, even guess who it might be. So that's the difference between mission and vision statements. There's an excellent video out from a guy who does a really nice job of describing the differences between them. And I can thoroughly encourage you to watch that video.